Tes Kislev, just like this year's Kviyas. Yesterday Shabbos was Shabbos Vayetze Tes Kislev, and the Rebbe is going to connect it with the Middle Rebbe in general, and Tes Kislev, and Yud Kislev, and Shabbos and Parsh Vayetze, and Parsh Vayishlach. In the beginning of the Sicha, the Rebbe primarily spoke about the idea about how Yaakov's going into Choron, like the Rebbe speaks about in many places, is about bringing Elikus down into the world until to such a degree that this also impacted his actual progeny, Mitosei Shlema, that he had the all of his children were complete and perfect, and the Rebbe even spoke about Mita is a place where the head and the feet are, the bed is a place where the head and the feet are the same, and still in all, over there, even such a low place, Elikus came down in a revealed way. The Rebbe is going to contrast that with what is going to take place in Parshas Vayishlach. In Vayetze, it's about Yaakov drawing down godliness and the yichud of the neshama and the body. In other words, even the physical body should be permeated with Elikus. It wasn't so much about the world. Parshas Vayishlach is about Yaakov dealing and impacting the world. So we're going to start in the second column, the second paragraph, Oishu Beis. Since the primary service of Yaakov that's related in the Parsha of Vayetze is primarily concerning himself, the revelation and the joining of the soul and the body, mitose shlema, which we said that's expressed by the expression that the Chazal used, that is, bed was complete. The above mentioned joining of godliness with the physical also has to manifest itself concerning the world as well. We come in continuation to Parshas Vayetze. Immediately that we're following the Parshas Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim Lefonav. At Yaakov sent Malachim before him, Al Esav Achiv, to Esav his brother, Arza Seir, to the land of Seir, Sdei Edom, the field of Edom. That's primarily speaking about the refinement of the world, which the world is represented by Esav. And how is that refinement of the world accomplished? Al Yidei Yaakov, through Yaakov. And then the Rebbe is going to bring in a little bit Kabbalistic things, but he's not going to speak about it at length. Nevur b'chsidus, and chsidus explains Yaakov b'chinas tikun v'esav b'chinas toyu. Yaakov represents the world of tikkun, where every godly light and emanation had its own particular vessel that was appropriate to it, and therefore godliness can manifest over there in a revealed way. And Esav, on the other hand, represents the world of chaos, where everything broke apart and shattered because the godly light was too powerful for the vessels. And because of that, you had someone down here that came down to be chaos in this world, the antithesis of Kedusha. The Yaakov Sholach Malachim LaEsav. So why did Yaakov, who represented Tikkun, an orderly and revealed aspect of godliness, send messengers to Esav that represented the shattered vessels, the destructive forces? Because he thought that Esav was already refined. The purpose of the shattering of the vessels of Toyu is that those sparks that fell down from Toyu, like the Arizal explains, are supposed to be elevated. And he believed that Esav was already at that stage where Yaakov would be able to adopt from the sparks of Esav. That he thought that there were able to be a joining and a unification of the great lights and vessels of Toyu, which was represented by Esav, with the lights and the vessels that are great of the world of Tikkun. In other words, in Kabbalah, usually the term is that the vessels of Tikkun, where Yaakov was from, was very broad, but the lights were very few, or very minimal. And the lights of Toyu, which Esav represents, is great, but the vessels were few. So the ultimate thing will happen in the future when the lights and the vessels will join, the lights of Toyu and the vessels of Tikkun. Shezeu shleimus habiru shel gashmis ha'olam. That's the perfection of the refinement of the physicality of the world. That's what he hoped to gain from Esav, that complete meshing of the spiritual and the physical. That the world becomes a vessel, and even more than the physicality of the world becoming a vessel, but it comes joined in a complete unity with spirituality. This takes place through the revelation of Hashem's essence that's beyond these two disparate and opposite worlds. By revealing Hashem's essence, so then each one sees within themselves a continuance of Hashem's very essence, a revelation of Hashem's essence. From the perspective of Hashem's essence, there is no differentiation of Toyu and Tikkun, and they could mesh and work together. But this was Yaakov's intent. L'poil, it didn't happen at that time. So the Rebbe says at the top of the next paragraph, El Shada b'poil Esav lo'hoya muchen oz. Yaakov misjudged Esav. He believed that Esav was ready for that meshing with godliness, but the Esav was not really ready. And that time, when will Esav be ready? And therefore, when will the worlds of Toyu be able to mesh with Tikkun? That's only going to occur in the time of the true and complete redemption. Like it says, that Yaakov tells Esav in this week's parsha that I cannot keep up with you. And Esav invited Yaakov to come with him to his home in Seir, the mountain of Edom. So he said, we'll go slowly until I will come to my master in Seir. In other words, he said, I'll follow, I'll eventually get to you. But the question is, what's going on over here? How can you say that Yaakov Avinu will follow? We don't see anywhere that Yaakov Avinu followed him. So the Chazal explain that this is, and Rashi explains this, that this is referring to when would Yaakov fulfill his promise to eventually follow Esav to Seir? That's been made HaMashiach. That's in the days of Mashiach that would finally take place. Shenamar, like it says, V'olu Mashiach behar Tzion lishbeit das har Esav, that the saviors will come out in the mountain of Tzion to judge the mountain of Esav. Like we'll speak about later in Sif Yud Ches and Ois Yud Ches of this Sicha. So the idea is that Yaakov was already on the road to the spiritual state of Esav, where we were going to go over here with Esav. So he goes on further, Yud Gimel Shtei Parshas, and now these two Torah portions, Vayetze, Vayishlach, B'avodas Yaakov Avinu. Both Vayetze, Vayishlach in the service of Yaakov, Shehem HaMekoymes HaRishonim BeTorah. Bahem Nisbayer Seder Avodah Lamata. These are the first places in Torah that's explained the order of the Avodah from below. Megalois as Toichem V'Tachlis Klolos HaAvodah BeTorah Mitzvahs. It reveals the content and the goal of the general avodah of Torah mitzvahs, ubefrat lacher matan Torah, especially after the giving of the Torah. Gedei levarer ulezachich es gashmias haguf ha'olam, to refine and to purify the physicality of the body and the world. V'lasoisei kli leruchnias haneshama, and to make the physicality of the world into a vessel for the spirituality of the soul. Until the physicality itself reveals the power of the doer in the thing that is done. And it becomes one matter, and one continuation of spirituality. Until a home for the Eibishter down below, for the Eibishter himself. And this, all of this wonderful stuff that our avodah is supposed to accomplish, this will be manifest when Moshiach comes. This will be completely in a state of revelation, in the true and complete redemption. Like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that then when Moshiach comes, the physicality of the body and the world will become refined, and we will be able to receive the revelation of the divine light. V'nigla k'vod Havaya, it will be revealed the glory of Hashem. V'ro kol basar yachtav, and all flesh will see together. Kipi Hashem diber, the mouth of Hashem spoke. Habasar atzma yireh lekus, that the flesh itself will see godliness. Mikiven shetir shleimus gilui koach hapoel menifol, since it will be the perfection of the revelation of the power of the maker in the thing that's made. In other words, we'll see in the made world the power of Hashem that made it. Adasher Adra, but even more so, to such a degree, Evan Mekir Tizak says that the stone will cry out from a wall, meaning Hanifal Agashmi, the physical made object, Doimim, the inanimate, which is represented in this pasuk by Evan, a rock. And the same thing at Sameach, it says over the Kfis Me'etz Yana, the knot of wood will also proclaim, the chai and living animals will also attest to the person about godliness. Valachas kam v'kama gufa adam, how much more so a person's own body will manifest and reveal godliness in the world. Gashmias atzma, the physicality itself, sha'yodem is gal koyach atzmas, that through the physicality the power of atzmas becomes revealed. Tegala bekoil tzaka will reveal with a voice of crying out. Like it says, Evan Mekir Tizak, it'll cry out. As koyach hapoil aruchni v'rotzna elim b'chol olam. The power of the doer, the spiritual power, and the supernal will in the entire world. So you have the physical world that will cry out and reveal the spirituality of the world. Al derech nekevet the sev of gever, similar to where it says the feminine will be higher than the masculine, because the feminine, as we spoke about on other occasions, is the receiver. Usually the physical is the receiver from the spiritual. Here, the physical will be the one that will proclaim the spiritual. And this, in a similar vein, the shaman is naguf, and ordinarily the body is sustained by the soul. Here, the soul is going to be sustained by the body because the physical will cry out and manifest the spiritual. Tachlizu, shal Torah mitzvahs b'chlal, this goal of Torah mitzvahs in general, lifal achibur mein ruchnis v'gashmi, is to affect the union and the joining between the spiritual and the physical. His chaskoid yoisrai, the gilui Torah achsidus, was even more strengthened through the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus. Shein the purpose and the goal of the teaching of Chassidus is to affect and to reveal the joining and the unity of godliness with the world. Through the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus, the inner part of the Torah, it's awesome that I said the concealed part of the Torah. Kefishin is Geulah b'Torah Chassidus, the way it was revealed in the teachings of Chassidus. Nifal achibur shel sasan kuchabrichu and sasan b'Yisrael. It's affected the joining and union of the concealed aspect of Hashem with the concealed aspect of Yid. V'zagam noisnas hakoyach lahapich hasamata shel gashus ha'olam. This also gives us the power to transform the belowness of the low state of the physicality of the world. Legalia sheyakula keli legila lekus, should be a vessel for the revelation of godliness. Legalia the kuchabrichu, to the revealed aspect of Hashem. V'gam lesasim the kuchabrichu, also to the concealed aspect of Hashem. Ubemiyuchad, and specifically the Geulah Torah Chassidus Chabad, through the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus Chabad, shemegalas etzem pnimis haTorah, it reveals the essence of the inner part of the Torah. It brings godliness to being clothed in the understanding and comprehension of Chachma, Bina, and Das, in such a way that we are sustained by it. Meaning, you're bringing godly things that are completely transcendent, completely beyond everything, and that should be understood in the human mind that was created, that was formed, that was made. Not only the human mind of the godly soul, is even the intellect of the animal soul, which is in the same realm like Charana, going to Charan, until it's even understood in the intellect of the nations of the world, which is represented by Esav, to whom Yaakov sent Malachim and hoped to refine. like the well-known expression, your wellspring should spread outward. That the wellsprings of Chassidus and Baal Shem Tov itself will spread out until in the way of expansion outward. Ad lechutza shein chutza, men like the Rebbe always emphasized, until a state of outwardness that there's nothing more outward than it. Meaning, shegam teva ha'olam, even the nature of the world, v'gam chutza, and even the outward state of the world, you kli should be a vessel, v'ada she'yisachtu malakus, till they become joined with godliness. So he explains a lot over here about the significance of the month of Kislev and why Kislev is so much connected with Chassidus. You have Yudas Kislev, and you have Tes Kislev, and you have Yud Kislev, and you have also Chanukah, which has to do with oil, which has to do with Pnimius HaTorah. That's because Kislev is the third month of the months of the winter having to do with rain. And rain has to do with our avodah, to draw down the rain from above. Rain is something that we have to accomplish through our avodah, our tefillos, and our way of acting causes the rain to come down from above to below till it physically changes the physical world. So that is something that is likened to Chassidus. So we're going to skip over to the bottom of the next page, bottom of the first column. And this it's expressed the quality and advantage of Torah in general that's likened to water, and specifically the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus in the month of Kislev. That the intellect of a human being who is a creation and the physical existence of the world will be permeated by godliness, what the Rambam calls Mei Hadas HaToher. He likens the mikveh to the spiritual purity, pure state of the waters of knowledge. Da'as Elokei Avicha, to know the God of your father. Ad la'ofen shel kulam mashke, until a situation where Moshiach comes, the world will be filled and incorporated entirely, completely irrigated with this godly knowledge. Shekol la'olam, that the entire world, gashmis kuloi, the entire physicality, yechoder v'safek belakus, will be permeated and soaked up with godliness, ruchnia, spirituality. Malars de'as Hashem kamayim li'amachasim. The earth is filled with the knowledge of Hashem, like the waters covers the sea. Like it will be revealed in the true and complete redemption that will come about through spreading your well springs outward. If we could add, let's skip over, let's skip over to Ois Tes Vav. Skip the paragraph. In the revelation of Torah Chassidus in the month of Kislev itself, Nifal hachibur shal ruchnis v'gashmis b'oifem miyuchad is affected the joining of the spirituality and physicality in a unique way. Aydei oifen gilei Chassidus shal admur amtzoi, through the manner of the revelation of Chassidus, the way the Mittler Rebbe revealed it. Yedua, it's known shagilui Torah Chassidus Chabad ha'yavoifem misuder. The way how the revelation of the teachings of Chassidus Chabad was revealed was in a very orderly fashion. Every one of our Rebbeim, our leaders, revealed and affected another stage and a path and a way in the revelation. Corresponding to the way anytime you have to reveal a new idea, there's a certain progression in that revelation. Let's skip the brackets to 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Admor Azakin, who dargis Chachma Shters Chassidus, the Alter Rebbe was the level of Chachma of the teachings of Chassidus, which Chachma we know is about a point, the initial point, the initial idea. Who Gilas in Yane Chassidus Ba'ifin Shal Nekuda, he revealed matters of Chassidus in the way of a point, without so much elaboration. Acharov, Admur Tzoi, following him was the Mittler Rebbe, Dargis Habina, the level of Bina, Hevius and Nekuda, Nekudas HaChachma, V'bir, Rocha, Bavon, Vasaga. He brought the point, which is the point of Chachma, in a broad and expansive understanding, explanation, with understanding and comprehension, Adli, Spashtus, V'Yisrachtus, until spreading out and broadening, Rechovis Hanor, the broadness of the river Shal Bina, of Bina Bedugmas Me'anor, Bina Nimshochem Mayin Chachma, similar to the way a river comes from the wellspring, which the wellspring signifies Chachma, and the river signifies Bina. The same thing that was there in the wellspring of Chachma, in the river, which is Bina, that very idea of Chachma is broadened and expanded. Like we see in the Amor Chassidus of the Mittler Rebbe, that the matters of Chassidus of the Alter Rebbe come by the Mittler Rebbe with great revelation in a way that's expansive and in a way that's broad and so on. So, to be able to fully affect and completely affect the union of the mind with the idea, in our situation, the joining of the mind of a person with the knowledge of Hashem, limud Torah Achsidus, through the study of Torah Achsidus, the dreshes benoisav la'asagim and nekudas hachachma gam avonet shel bina b'oif shlo yisrachavus. It's necessary and it's demanded, in addition to comprehension and the point of chachma, also the understanding of bina in a way of broadening the ideas of chachma. So too it's understood concerning the union of spirituality and physicality, alakus v'ha'olam, godliness in the world, shenasei de chassidus, that comes about through chassidus, shashlemus b'zeh nifelos aydei zeh, that the perfection of this is affected through the fact shebenoitzav l'chachma yesh gam bina, that in addition to chachma there's also bina, like the matter is also expressed in the flesh life of the Mittler Rebbe, like it's known what the Tzemach Tzedek spoke about the Mittler Rebbe. If they would cut my father-in-law's finger, blood would not come out, chassidus would come out. What does that mean? This means his physical life, his blood. Hadam wa nefesh, the blood which is a soul. Atzmai his very blood was chassidus. His very life was chassidus, and that's why in the footnotes he brings down that he wanted that when two Jungelite meet in the street, they should talk in chassidus, and or even more so, he explained that he wants that they should understand keser like they understand the 5 fingers in their hand. In other words, the fingers, the physical fingers, should be for them the same type of understanding like they understand spirituality. This shows on the total union of the spiritual and the physical. Let's skip the next paragraph to the second paragraph on the second column. This is also, we could say, the hint in his description that he's called the Mittler Rebbe, meaning the Rebbe of the middle. The middle shows that it comes between the first and the third, and he joins them. The Mittler Rebbe, since he is the level of Bina, he joins the Rebbe that was prior to him with the Rebbe that was after him. Admur Azok in Chachma, Admur had Tzemach Tzedek Das, the Alter Rebbe who was Chachma, and the Tzemach Tzedek which represented Das, Ba'oifin sheboi nechlalim gimel roshi ve'avis Chassidus keneg Chabad. In such a manner, the Mittler Rebbe joined together all 3 fathers of Chassidus that correspond to Chachma, Bina, Das. Kivin sheboi misbatas klos ha'pula shel gil Chassidus Chabad, because specifically in the Mittler Rebbe was expressed the general effect of the revelation of Chabad Chassidus l'chaber alakus ima oilam, to join godliness with the world. And this the Rebbe connects afterwards with the Frierdiker Rebbe passing away on the very same day that he was born in, which shows on how powerful the revelation of godliness is in the world, that his physical life expressed itself in such a perfect state, that it was physically his actual life manifested the completion, because by him spirituality and physicality were completely joined. Let's skip over the paragraph to the second paragraph on the next page, in the first column. That's also the reason why Tes Kislev is the day preceding, as preparation for the 10th of Kislev, Chag Geulah Shaloi, his day of redemption. Skip the parentheses. Since the perfect joining of the perfection of the service of tzaddik with spirituality, with his perfection in the physical, the yom of Vishnois, of the fact that his days and years were complete, like we said before, that he passed away on the very same day that he was born. It's an appropriate preparation that gives immediately as hakoyach, the empowerment, lifos inyan hageulah, be'inyan yafutza mayasacha chutza, concerning the matter of spreading the well springs outward. Skip over to 4 lines in the bottom of the column after the parentheses. Shafilu be'erech la'ofen Geulah achsidus ha'admur emtzoi ba'ofen shel rechoves va'anor. Even in comparison to the manner of the revelation of Chassidus of the Mittler Rebbe in the way of the broadness of the river that took place ad l'maiser ha'Geulah, until his imprisonment or redemption, ba gam b'zeh gufa Geulah. This itself reached the state of Geulah. In other words, as broad and as expansive as his teachings were after the Geulah, now these were redeemed, meaning they came out even more powerfully. Geulah pritzas geder shalamaylam didavagbola, redemption and breaking through barriers that's beyond measure and boundaries. Hamaisifa koiches chadoshim, that adds new powers and capabilities. Ad shaloi be'erech, incomparably so. Lachaber elyon v'tachten, to join the above and below. Let's skip over to the next paragraph. The adli yiseidim is even more so. Geulah shel Yud Kislev, the redemption of Yud Kislev, nasa aschol of Agdama legeulah Yud Kislev Rashon l'Chassidus, that it becomes the redemption of the 10th of Kislev becomes a beginning and an introduction to the redemption of the 19th of Kislev, which is the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. We're going to skip over to the next page, Ois Yud Ches, second paragraph on the page. All that was mentioned before matters and is appropriate for Yidden in all generations. How much more so in this generation? It was Manenu in this time. According to the signs of Chazal, skip the parentheses, we're standing already on the threshold of Geulah Mamish. Like we've spoken many times lately. After the great amount of our actions and service throughout all the generations, especially after the avodah of our Rabbeim, our leaders, we make Geulah, beginning from the fathers of Chassidus in the days of their redemption, of the 19th of Kislev, Yud Kislev, and their birthdays and their yard sites, Tes Kislev, Chavdal Tevis on the 9th of Kislev, and the 24th of Tevis, the Alter Rebbe's yard site. And since then, many generations and years passed by, until the avodah of my father-in-law, the leader of our generation. Was kala berudim. We concluded all the refinements and elevation of the sparks. Kol gam habiru shel Esav shu Edom, including also refining the level of Esav, which is Edom. How much more so? Even in the time of Yaakov, as we mentioned earlier, Yaakov thought in his days that Esav was already refined. Skip the parentheses. Canal, like we said before, Allah has come v'kam Allah ribu avodah me'oz. How much more so after the much avodah since then? Esav kvar nizbar l'gamri. Esav was completely refined. Like we see this also in the way things are running now these days in the exile of Edom. Our final exile is called the exile associated with Edom. Of the nations of the world at present that relate to Asa, which is Edom b'derech malchus shel chesed, in a way that they are a government of kindness towards the Eden. Van Hagizum is pashetas gam ba'id medinas, and acting kind towards its Jewish citizens already spreading to other countries. The way we see specifically in the latest times, how the movement is understood. Now we find ourselves already in such a state at the physical body, and even the physical world, that they were already refined. They are already a vessel that's prepared for all spiritual lights and matters. Top of the next column, including primarily the light of Moshiach, the light of the true and complete redemption, until the revelation of the pure simplicity and unadulterated essence of Hashem's very essence Himself, the way it becomes revealed in the essential state of Moshiach. Let's skip the parentheses. Through Moshiach becomes revealed also in the simple, essential state of every Yid. The only thing that's lacking, a Yid should open up his eyes appropriately, and to see how everything is already prepared for the redemption. There's already the table laid out. There's already the Levyasan and the wild ox, and also the wine that was prepared from Sheksim Ebreshis. Yidden are already sitting around the table of their father, Melech Malch Baruch Hu, the King of Kings Hashem. Yachad Moshiach Tzidkenu, along with Moshiach Tzidkenu, Kfi shekas b'Sfarim, like it says in Sfarim, Shebechol Dor v'Dor Yesh Nayachad Mizar Yehuda Shuroilis Moshiach. That in every single generation there's someone from the descendants of Yehuda that's worthy to be Moshiach. And in our generation, who is that one person? That's the Moshiach of our generation, and my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe. And after 40 years since the passing of my father-in-law, there's already a heart to know, and eyes to see, and ears to hear. Now there only has to be to open up the heart to know, and they should open up the eyes to see, and to open the ears to hear. In a similar vein, to use all the 248 limbs and organs and the 365 blood vessels, sinews, capillaries, etc. of the physical, in addition to the Torah study and fulfillment of mitzvahs in general, skip the parentheses, for the study of the inner part of the Torah, the way it was revealed in the teachings of Chassidus. The Kiyam Hayros Rabbeinu Nasienu, and the fulfillment of the lessons and directives of our Rabbeim Nasiim Koilo Lilmud Binyane Geulah, including also studying matters of redemption. In such a way that it should open up the heart, the eyes, and the ears. That they should understand, the Yiru they shall see, shall feel bepashtus mamish b'gash soilma, in the simple sense mamish, in the physicality of the world, as Geulah mitzvah shlema poel mamish, the true and complete redemption and actuality. To study the Torah of Moshiach, which is the inner part of the Torah, in a way of seeing it, not just understanding it. This is all ready and prepared. All we have to do is open the eyes and we'll see it. In the simple words, concerning actuality. Since the joining of the soul and the body and spirituality with physicality is already to be found completely, and everything is already prepared for the redemption, we have to do things that's going to reveal it in actuality. And first and foremost, in a thing that has to do with the time that we're in, in the day of the birthday, when his mazel is in ascendancy, and the day of the passing, the yard site of the Middle Rebbe, Lahoise Belima Terosi, to add in the study of his Torah, Dafke Ba'ifin Shal Rechavis Anar de Bina, specifically in a manner of the broadness of the river of Bina, skip the parentheses, and this study has to do with every single Jew, Anoshim v'Noshim, men and women, like we spoke about many times. That it has to do also simply to the Jewish women and daughters, especially since through this Mashiach will come. The Talmud Gadol Shemevel de Maisa study is great because it brings to action to bring this to actuality. And to take the lesson from the Middle Rebbe. That by him this came expressed the perfection of his avoidance, the teachings of Chassidus, and the physicality of the body in the world, in time and place. Like we mentioned before, that his days, he passed away on the day that he was born. By every single person should be a unique effort to express his spirituality and his chassidishkeit in his physicality. Should be in his physical matters, and his physical time and place. It should be felt the warmth and vitality that flow out of his Judaism and out of his chassidishkeit. Ad la'ofen shelo yeh b'neim kol pirat klal, to such degree there shouldn't be any separation between them. It should be an actual thing. And then the Rebbe goes on about making fabrengens and gatherings, including during Hanukkah. And let's skip over to 3 lines. Or actually, let's skip over to 5 lines, 6 lines on the bottom of the page. Including also like the custom of our Rabbeim Nesim, to make gatherings for family, the household, in the days of Chanukah, and to give out Chanukah geld to the household, especially the children, sons and daughters. Because when everyone fulfills this custom, the pirsum amasim in the appropriate way of making this well known and well established, the oid by sofa varachava, in the way of increasing and addition and broadening idea sofa bin sinist mechanika beribui, through increasing in the giving of Chanukah geld with much. This adds joy by the children. So we bind ourselves even more so through fulfilling this custom with our Rabbeim Nesim. By binding ourselves with the Rabbeim, this gives us even more additional empowerment to be able to cause their teachings to permeate and their our lives with their customs and their directives should permeate our day-to-day life. Including and specifically Gamin Yisrael, also the custom of Yidden that goes on and spreading out. It's spreading more so in this time. To study matters of redemption and matters of Mashiach, to prepare oneself and prepare others to the revelation of the true and complete redemption, like we said before. Should be the will of Hashem. From speaking about and taking on good resolutions in these matters, take from a yad begolis agula mitzvah shlema de Mashiach tzedkenu. The matter will bring about immediately in a revealed way the true and complete redemption through Mashiach tzedkenu, l'einei basar, to the eyes of flesh. Shall call Yehudim, shall call Yisrael, of every Jew and all Yidden. But take from Yad Mamish, and immediately Holchem call Yisrael. All Yidden go Adam Anani Shvai with the clouds of heaven. Yachdim Kol Maseinu, over the Seinu, along with all of our actions and service. Yachdim Kol Rechushim Agashim, along with the entire physical wealth. Kasvam Zavim Itam, the silver and gold with them. Yachadim Abati Migdash Ma'at, including the minor Bati Migdashes, which means the Shulin and yeshivas that are here locally, and so too one's individual houses. Therefore, everybody will go without feeling coerced because they have their house with them. Asher nas chadurim legamri boyer chassidus v'kedushas haneshama that become completely permeated with the light of chassidus and the holiness of the soul. Shechanti b'soichem, I will dwell amongst them. L'artzeinu hakadosh, to our holy land, the Yerushalayim hakadosh, to the holy city Yerushalayim, lahar hakadosh, to the holy mountain, Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi, in the third Beis Hamikdash. Yeshloim Shabotim Mikdash Ma'at v'Abotim Aprotim Shemein Mikdash Ma'at. We could say that the minor Botim Mikdashes and the individuals' homes that are similar to a minor Beis Hamikdash, Mischabrim, Mizdavkin, LeMikdash Adonai Kohen Yedacha, they become joined and cleave to the Mikdash that Hashem, your hands prepared, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Holy of Holies, Hashem Nimtza as Evan Hashsia, over there is found the Evan Hashsia, Shemenu Hush Soilum, from that the entire world spread out, V'oid V'hu Ha'ikir, in additional to that, and that's primary, take it from Yad Mamish, immediately Mamish.